Hey guys, this is our second day in Bandung and we are in Dago. We're staying at the Dago Suites. Here's my lovely hubby.
Hi.
And we just want to show you first where we stay. This is the Dago Suites. We're on the 8th floor and it's a pretty nice setup here. You got like the view of the city. But we want to talk to you because we just got done from running. That's kind of like our thing, our activity. We found this really nice trail. It's very close to where we stay. You kind of have to go to Sangkuriang Street. And how long does it take from here to that area?
You know, so it's about a quarter of a mile. And the one reason, like, you know, we decided to mention it was, you know, as she said, it's something we do pretty regular. It's like running, and it's not necessarily easy when you're traveling from place to place to find a nice place to run. You know, the thing is, like, when you kind of search, like, you know, you depend on Google, like I do, you might not find the best information when you're searching in English. And so, you know, when I went running out here, I didn't see a whole lot of foreigners. It looked like pretty much locals, but, you know, from further search with my lovely Indonesian wife who speaks the language,
I'm a great resource.
she was able to find it, but, you know, it would be in English called Forest Walk. And then
it's called Forest Walk, Babakan Siliwangi, or it's also just called for short Baksil, and it is very close to ITB, which is also in Indonesia called ITB, Institute Technology of Bandung. This very famous university in Bandung, and there's also this nice swimming pool. It's called Saraga that you could look through when you're in this trail. But let's just talk about the trail itself. What do you think about the trail?
Probably one of my favorites. You know, I think, you know, ever since I've been running, coming out from like North Carolina to Florida, California and so on, one of my favorite places has actually been in North Carolina, in Greenville. It's, you know, a trail that goes through the woods, and this kind of surpasses that in a way that, you know, it's not a super long trail. I mean, I think when you looked it up, it said 2 kilometers, but it's roughly for my count, you know, probably like a full loop is like, you know, 0.6 miles. So, you know, I don't think it's quite the same thing. But, you know, what's kind of nice about it is that you are in a small tropical forest. So, you know, it's all big leaves, nice and shady. It's great in an area where, you know, in a country on the equator where it's super hot, even though we are at elevation where, you know, right now, I don't know, maybe high 70s right now?
Yeah, high 70s. But it's very shady, a lot of overcast right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like, yeah, very shady, like, you know, like, because it's a big tropical, like, the trees, like, they're tropical, so they have, like, the big leaves, so it makes it nice and shady.
Yeah.
And what's super cool about it is all wood decking. So you're kind of going through almost like dock space in the woods, so it kind of elevates you and you're off the ground. You know, I would say the one thing most people wouldn't like about it is the sheer number of people on it.
Yeah.
And a few words that you're going to have to know in Indonesian is the big one is permisi, like, right? Like, so.
Excuse me, permisi.
And vocalize it, because sometimes I guess people hear it and they still don't want to move.
And you got to run on the left side, just like how you would need to walk and run on the left side, because that's the opposite from America. So.
Yeah. So, you know, that's from where we're staying. Like I said, I think it's about, you know, like a quarter mile, like to a third of a mile, like per what we mapped out. So
yeah.
And just give you like kind of a heads up, right? Because you probably get confused with certain terms, like you know, when you say go to Bandung, right? And then, like, you know, me, like, Bandung's like a hard word just for me to remember. So like I'm like, people say Bandung, Dago, Lembang. So like you've heard us say, like, you know, say Dago, right? It is actually like a portion of Bandung, even though people might use it in a separate reference. It's like the north end of Bandung, which is where you're getting the more elevation. So it's Bandung, Dago, and then, you know, I think tomorrow we're actually heading a little further up into
Lembang, yeah.
What were we going to say about the trail? Because I did have something to add from yesterday's video, some useful information that we had trouble finding.
I can't remember.
So
we'll come to it.
We were talking about the train yesterday, Showed you some of the things in like the executive class. A couple of problems we ran into. You know, being from America, having American bank accounts, so on and so forth, we weren't actually able to buy the tickets online. I think there's a couple of resolutions to that. If you do have friends here, like we do, we asked them to pick up the tickets and just, you know, had it work that way. We're hoping we can go to the train station because we actually have to go to the train station either today or tomorrow and get tickets to Semarang. So
We can show more footage.
right, yeah, we'll show that. But a couple other things we were curious about, right? Because we were going through, like, talking about suitcase sizes. You go to the website, it's relatively clear, but it's sort of like when you take carry-on on an airplane, right? And you go in there and you've got the appropriate size, and then you see your neighbor who's got this way oversized, ridiculous thing, and they're gonna like take up all the headspace, and it just, if you're me, it irritates me. But this basically, like, we were looking up the dimensions, and I think it was like 29 inches high. You know, everything's in centimeters, but it weighs like 20 inches high, like about a foot in depth, and pretty much, I forget the actual like width is supposed to go, but you know, anything normal is going to fit in there. I was concerned about my bag because mine, I think, was I'm sorry, the regulation 28 inches. Mine was 29 inches. My wife's 28 inches, and so I went with a smaller suitcase, which not optimal because, you know, when you pick up little knickknacks here and there, you want the most room possible. So it's going to give you a weight limit, things like that. Nobody checks the weight.
Yeah.
Nobody checks the weight, and like nobody's checking the actual dimensions. It just needs to be able to fit in that overhead. So if I'd have brought my larger suitcase, it would have worked totally fine. That foot of depth, I think, is the most important measurement. So just a little kickback to yesterday's video.
Yeah, and another thing, there is toilets in every car. I think there's even 2 of them. So
yeah, there was one on each end. Yep.
And there's like cleaning guy that was very on point. Everybody was professional. Lovely. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to go to Kawakute, White Crater today, and also to Rancha Upas to feed the deers. And we're going to tell you all about it later. Bye.